It's a dance. I think of it as a dance. I actually think dancers make better stunt performers than fighters. Because fighters get so in their head and so ego they start throwing straight to the face. Whereas a dancer understands the beats and the illusion. A fighter doesn't understand. It's an illusion. It's not a real fight. And I tell people all the time, but hey, guy, and this is not a real fight. Don't hit me here. Hit me here.
Great to talk to you. You are doing a wonderful job, and it's really intriguing. I've spoken to a few stunt coordinators before, and I find your work so fascinating because you work behind the scenes and nobody really knows about you.
Yeah. Which I'm comfortable with. I like just hiding in the back.
Oh, you do? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So tell me about your work. I mean, you're a stunt coordinator, and I see many things that you do. You wear many hats.
Yeah. I do wear many hats. Coordinating stunts is just one of the things I do. I'm also like a safety advisor for film and television. I do that. I run a stunt school. Uh I think in the film industry, I think everybody has worn every hat. I think that's
Oh,
just the
really?
norm. Yeah,
Mm.
I think that's the norm. I'd be very surprised if there were people who just were just the one thing. That doesn't sound right. I've never met anyone who is just the one thing. But yeah. So I do a safety coordinator, which I do a lot of. I was posting some throwback pictures. I coordinate stunts. I teach new up and coming people how to do stunts too. I run my own stunt school. So yeah, that's what I do. And I'm a dad.
Three, two, one, action!
The safety part of it. So you have to check that. If you can give me an idea of what that entails. So is it that way that you do on films to see that, say, people don't get hurt on films or what?
Yeah. So what I'll do is I'll advise. If not, I'll be the coordinator for that. So I'll advise, make sure everyone is just doing what they're supposed to do, wearing their harnesses, keeping it being safe on set, checking with department heads, making sure all the checks and balances are there. Sometimes it's just being there. Once they see you, I'll wear like a bright yellow shirt so they see me on set. They're like, "Oh, there's a safety guy." Just being there, they start to button things up. Because sometimes it can get a little loose. I've been on film sets where I was the stunt guy and people were just doing very like things you shouldn't be doing, like smoking next to explosives and stuff like that. And I'm
Okay.
like, hey, bro, those are explosives. You can't do that. And they're like, oh, I didn't know.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
because you work in the industry, so you know exactly what can go wrong.
Yeah. And I've seen it go wrong. Yeah. Yeah.
So, but as a child, were you very active and daring, and what led you to this industry?
Uh, to give a background on my how I grew up first generation. My whole family is actually from Europe, so they came to America, and I grew up in a it was kind of ethnic. We were all Portuguese, so we had some of our people around us, but where we lived, it was you were only there were only so many career options back then. This is before the internet. So you didn't know anything else of the world. And I was a very active kid. I skateboarded, I surfed, I snowboarded, I was jumping off my house, we were blowing up fireworks. I guess, the typical kid stunt guy. I was doing all that stuff. And then when I was going to school, nothing really fit me. I was really good at science. I loved science. And I was brought up on the ocean. So I thought, maybe something with science. But back then nobody knew anything. They was like didn't have access to internet and seeing these different things. If you didn't live in the area like Hollywood, you were either a plumber or a carpenter or what we call blue collar workers or like the white collar, the doctor, the office and stuff. I grew up blue collar, so in my future, that's all
Oh, yeah.
yeah, so that's all you like that. I'm like, God, this isn't me. And then I went on a vacation when I was 22, and I saw a stunt show, and I said, that's what I want to do in life. I want to do that. Yeah,
Well, you have to have that sort of that energy, isn't it?
yeah.
And not be too afraid.
Oh, you respect the fear. I'm always afraid.
Oh, is it? Okay.
It's not that you're not afraid because you open yourself up for access. It's just being respecting that the height, the fire, the risk. Yeah.
And of course, you have the training. So I think with the training comes also that awareness of, okay, this can be really dangerous, rather
Mhm.
than just going and doing crazy stuff.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. Definitely the training, and it's not just the physical training. Because yes, you have to be strong. You have to have tough skin, but at the same time, you have to take that mental strength, which is hard for some people, myself. You have to be able to take that back seat and say, is my physical strength enough where that, why do I need that extra harness? I can hold myself up, but that, it's the safety part that some people like, they think it's an ego thing. It's like, no, dude, this is safety. We're not just trying to keep you safe or like the train, but we're trying to keep everybody safe. Yeah. So it's definitely like the physical and the mental strength, yeah, training.
But now you sometimes you hear also actors, they sort of say, "Oh, I'll do my own stunts," or you think, "Oh, wow, he's doing his own stunts." But do you think it's always wise?
No, no, not at all. Those high, like high budgeted films, they work. Those actors who do lots of their stunts, even then, they still have stunt doubles.
Mm.
Even then, that's the secret. They have stunt doubles. They have to have stunt doubles because the insurance companies and the studios won't let them take those risks. The stunt guy gets hurt, it sucks, but the show can keep going.
Oh,
The
yeah.
main actor or actress gets hurt, all of a sudden everything shuts down. No production, no producer is going to let that happen. They're going to like, no, they'll just have the stunt guy do those things. Like I'll bring up Tom Cruise. Yeah, he does a lot of his stunts, does tons of them. But you're talking about there's so much prep. There's so much prep that goes into that, and then he'll bring on safety advisors, and sometimes those advisors be like, "Hey, Tom, I think this is too dangerous." And then he'll fire them and bring on someone else who will agree with him. But
Yeah.
but yeah, no, it's I think it's silly. I think it's very silly for actors to say that. And because I have so much to say because I work a lot of independent movies too, lower budget ones. And I get these actors coming in saying, I'm gonna do my own stunts. The production doesn't want to pay for the stunt crew. So I try not to work those. But when I have to, I'll say, okay, this is how it has to be done. And it's usually a mess because the actors just don't have the training. They don't have that strength. They didn't put in that time. It becomes an ego thing for them. Oh, I do my own stunts. I do my own stunts. I'm like, no, a stunt is not throwing a punch. A stunt is taking the bump and falling on the ground. A stunt is selling the fight. That means you're the guy who got hit. You're the one taking the beats and the bruises and the scratches, not being in front of the camera doing this. Oh, I hate that so much.
Yeah, and like you say, it's training, and it's a stunt coordinator that I spoke to a while ago also sent me a few videos, and I think to myself, wow, this is crazy what you have to take, and you have to have the training, and I'm sure you have to do it over and over and over again.
Yeah, you do. And you have it's not just that training, it's also on your off time you have to be working out. You have to be like for me, for example, I'm a father, so I gained that dad weight. I'm 40 pounds over my weight, and I have to drop that to be able to work. Like when I'm at my stunt school, I can't keep up with the guys because I'm heavier than them. And I'm also 50 and they're like 20, so I'm trying to keep up
Oh,
with
yeah.
50-year-olds. So it's hard with that extra weight and the extra years of age. So it's that constant, like you're always for that stunt person, you're always, always, always training. Whether it's your diet, it's your off time working out. There's never really an off. What I think, and from what I've seen, there's never really that off time. It's just constant. Like, okay, I have to go. I have this stunt, and I have to go. Brush up on my high falls, on my takes. Cool, you're doing that, and then all of a sudden you get out of that, and then you go to the gym to go work out, and then after that you go. You can't eat that pizza because you have to maintain your weight. So you're eating a salad, and it's constant. Oh, and then you have to get sleep if you get sleep, and then you have to do the family thing. You have to watch kids and stuff like that. And I try to be there for my kids at all times.
Yeah, and it's also, I think it's also that thing where I'm thinking of, and this is also something that I didn't realize, but fights get choreographed, when you do these fight scenes. So it's really, you have to know where to stand and where to step and when to hit. And so you also teach those things, I see.
Yeah. You have to. It's a dance. I like to think of it as a dance. I actually think dancers make better stunt performers than fighters, because fighters get so in their head and so ego they start throwing straight to the face. Whereas a dancer understands the beats and the illusion. A fighter doesn't understand. It's an illusion. It's not a real fight. And I tell people all the time, but hey, guy, and this is not a real fight. Don't hit me here. Hit me here. And dancers and gymnasts, they understand the rhythm. They understand how to move, to sell to the stage. But yes, and that's another reason why I prefer to work with seasoned people instead of actors who come on to a set and say, I'm going to do my own stuff. Show me the fight in 5 minutes. Like, no, bro, I need like 2 hours to show you the fight.
Yeah, and like you say, you have to know where to hit and also probably where to fall.
Yes. Yeah. And then also the micro movements in a fight, because they'll say, "Oh, I just throw a punch, right?" And then they'll throw the punch where it's supposed to be. Then all of a sudden, here comes this elbow that they're not thinking of, and then it's the elbow that clocks the poor guy in the face, or they bring back the elbow just like not even thinking. They'll bring it back, and then it comes back, and hits the guy. Yeah, it's those micro movements. I just taught a guy that Monday night where he was throwing a punch, but then he would come back and swing at his partner. Yeah.
But so many things that's involved in that job, And do you feel in the industry that you get the recognition that you deserve?
That's a tough one for me. I've never. I know it's very big for some people to like. Right now, there's a big push for awards. I personally never went after awards. That wasn't a thing. I think going home at the end of the night was like an award for me. Like, oh, I got to do this great job, something I love, and then I got paid for it, and I go home.
And you're still alive.
Yeah, yes. I chipped a tooth, tore a pec, blew a shoulder, but yeah, I think recognition it's happening. It's out there. I think before back then, it it wasn't as much, or it was. But yeah, I think recognition is happening. But as I said, I never went after the blue ribbon or a trophy. That was just never part of my core.
And like you said, also you have to have many different aspects of the job is that just to qualify yourself as a better stuntman, or is it like job opportunities really that it gives you more opportunity to earn?
I think it's both. It's both. The more you know, you can't be an expert at everything, but you can be a jack of all trades where you know something. And then the more you know, the more opportunities you will get. But the thing with it, being in stunts, it's not always what you know, it's who you know, and then what you look like. Because I can have all the skills, but they're looking for someone who's like very tall or very broad, or someone's very short, and I just don't look that. I don't have that. Okay, I like do and what was I going to go off of that? Is that yes? And then also I think too, the more you know, you can keep yourself safe at a certain situation.
Also, a stuntman that I did an interview with said to me, also talked about the etiquette on, on a film set, and that how important it is for stunt people to have to know that etiquette, for to be respected also, and to be called back, that sort of thing.
Yes.
So do you think this is also important, an important part of the job, that it's not just about doing the stunts, but really knowing or understanding how the whole film industry works?
Yeah, I very much think so, especially with everybody being so interconnected through devices. I think bad news travels so much faster than it used to, and bad news travels faster than good news, 5 times faster. And then I think, yeah, you should definitely have the etiquette, and you should also be friendly to everybody on set, because, yeah, you may have gotten good with the coordinator, but all of a sudden you rubbed, like maybe you did something or said something wrong to the costumer, and a costumer might be tighter with a producer, and then now you're not invited back. So yeah, and I've seen that. I've personally experienced stuff like that where I was on a set and I thought I was okay, and I was talking to everyone a certain way, but I offended someone, and I didn't realize it wasn't something I went out. It wasn't something malicious. It was just like, how you say, "Hey, dude, what's going on?" You say
Yeah.
those, colloquial, my vocabulary. But as I was saying it to everybody, this one person took offense because she didn't want her to be called dude, and I didn't know
Yeah.
this. Yeah, I didn't know this. It's just part of my speak where where I grew up.
Yeah.
And I had a producer come to me, and I was actually the safety advisor on that show, a big show. And he's like, "Hey, I just need to talk to you that you offended so and so by saying dude." And I was like, "I thought I did something worse." I won't walk around like something exploded, and then I was like, "Is someone dead? Do I need to go get coffee?" And he's like, "No, I just have to talk to you about so and so. They said you offended her by calling her dude." I was like, "I didn't even talk to her." I sat there scratching my head. I was like, "When did I talk to her?" And it hit me. It was at 5 a.m. in the morning. I was the only one on set except for a few people walking around. And I was like, "Hey, what's up, dudes?" And that was it. So yeah, so I think etiquette is my mentor, my stunt mentor said, best thing you can do as a stunt guy is when you're on set is don't speak unless spoken to, ask the
Okay.
questions, and then just listen and be like,
And don't call people dude.
and don't call dudes. Yeah.
But yeah, that is so it's interesting. But yeah, but I think people are a bit more overly sensitive nowadays, about these things. So
Yeah.
yeah, but you must have also broken many bones in your lifetime, and
I don't like to talk
sustained
about
many
this one.
injuries and things. Or are you still? Are you still, touch wood?
Yes, I just
Fine.
did it just now.
Oh, you did. Okay.
I reached over and touched my cabinet. Yeah, so I've chipped a tooth banging off a car. I tore my pec prepping for a job in Japan because I was also a circus performer. So I tore my pec preparing for a job in to go to Japan. I blew out a shoulder swinging off a pirate ship.
Wow.
I nearly lost my lower section, my manhood, on that same pirate ship. They flashed a light in my eyes. They gave us these colored contacts, and I couldn't see. And so I was swinging off this pirate ship blind. Then all of a sudden, just one day, boom, there was a light in my face, and I went straight into a steel post. What else?
Ouch.
Yeah. I've banged my head a few times. I think I chipped my elbow on a same pirate ship. I got hurt a lot on that pirate ship. What else? Yeah, I get banged my head again. Trying to think.
But you,
My hip. Yeah.
But when that happens to you, for example, on a set, do you have insurance, or because then you can't work for a while?
Yeah. I have insurance. If the injury, again, is just the way I was brought up. I was brought very rough and tumble. If the injury is small enough, I don't show it. What I do is I just like tighten my belt, or like I'll just like
okay.
keep it in because I don't want to be a liability on set. I want to be invited
Yeah.
back on set.
Mm.
So yeah, like I fell off a horse once and it was a hard fall, but I just got up. Okay, let's do it again. But in my head, I was like, "Ooh, that hurt." And then the other guy fell, and he got the same fall, and he was like, made this big deal, and everyone just looked at him and then looked at me. I'm like, "Oh, I'm fine. I'm good. Let's get back to
Wow.
work." But yeah,
Mhm.
I have insurance. And then if it's a good production, they should have insurance.
Mhm.
And that's one of the things. Like you assume in all the big productions that there are insurance, but then sometimes on these lower budget ones, they ask for a lot of stuff, but they'll ask for this, and that, but there's no insurance. So one of my main things going now, walking on a set on a lower budget, is the first thing I'll ask is like, "Oh, dude, that's awesome. You want all these stunts? What's your budget, and do you have insurance?"
Oh, okay. Mm. But do you have the sort of the courage to go to directors and say, "Look, this stunt is too dangerous. I'm not going to do it because I'm not going to survive it," or do you just wrangle it in a way and hope for the
Well,
best?
Well, I'll tell you a story. First I would go to the coordinator if I was a stunt guy. I'd say,
Okay.
"Hey, let's really walk it through." And then if we need to bring the director through, because you have to go through that chain of command, you should never
Oh, I
skip
see.
your boss and go to the
Mhm.
director unless there's that sort of relationship. But even then, you should
Mm.
always have your stunt coordinator in there. So that's. But when I was a safety advisor, I actually had to talk to a pretty big director and tell
Mm.
him no.
Oh,
And the whole
really?
yeah, he was a really big director. And he was really in there, won 2 Oscars or Emmys, and then I had to say no. They brought me down to Colombia to go look at this set, and the first thing I said, I was like, "Wow, this is pretty crazy. I don't know about this." And then when I did a walkthrough, and then we had a flood come through, I had to check the building. I had to tell this big director in front of everybody, in front of the producers, in front of all the department heads, and on the phone with the studios. I had to tell the director, no, and everyone was just like, "Did you just say no to so and so?" Nobody says no to him, and they were like shocked, shocked. And I said, "Dude, we don't want to
Yeah.
set the fall on people." And it was an old set in a Colombian jungle, and then he's like, the director was like, "Huh, hmm, walk with me." And I was like, "Okay,
Really?
cool." He told and then the art lead that was on it really gave me like, "Oh, but we have to use that. I spent so much time on." I said, "Dude, it's danger. Oh, like you can see
Mm.
it." And I had an engineer walk through with me who agreed with everything I said. Said we can't use this. So the director's like, "Okay, cool, everybody stay here. I just want to talk to Kevin." And he took me
Wow.
around. We were on a huge set. We walked around, went to the other side of the set. He's like, "So I can't use the set?" And I said, "No." And I said his name. I said, "You saw all the papers, and I can't. I'm just advising you.
Mm.
I say no, but you do what you want to do." He's like, "No, no. I totally appreciate you saying no to me." Then he's like,
Wow.
and then he goes to points to another building. "Can I throw somebody off that building?" "Yep." "Can somebody rappel off that building?" "Yep." "Can we blow stuff up over there?" "Yep." And he asked me why, and because I offered him the what ifs, and
Mm.
I didn't just say no. I said, "Hey, you can't do this, but you can do that."
Oh,
And he's
yeah.
like, "Huh, I
Mm.
like it." Then we went back, and he goes, "I don't want to talk to anybody else ever again. If I have questions, I'll just talk to Kevin."
Oh,
Oh, that
really?
that was great. Yeah, because then I had
Yeah.
department heads came up to special effects came up to me. He's like, "Hey man, when you came down here, I thought you were just an American yes man. I thought you were just gonna say yes to this guy, and then
Mm.
we do whatever we want. When you said no, we were all in shock." And then the stunt coordinator said the same thing. He came up to me, he's like, "Hey Kev, thanks for having our backs because we were worried about these buildings." And then they were asking me questions because I'm a stunt guy too. And he's like, "Hey, do you think you can go check?" It was like a set of stairs. They wanted to do a stair fall and a bunch of other stuff. I said to the corner, I said, "Yeah, dude. Not only will I check them out, I'll try it out. I'll tell you if
Wow.
it's good, and if it's not, I'll work with construction to get it like really steady." And
Mm.
I did exactly that day. I went, tried it out, said it's kind of shaky. Worked with construction, we made it solid. And they didn't end up doing the stair fall, but it was a beautiful, solid stairs. Yeah.
Kevin, this is the strangest thing I've ever heard. I'm going to try and do the stair fall and come and tell you what works.
It was because what was cool about when I did that job, because I'm very tactile. Like I have to put my hands on things. I can't just say, "Oh no, it's dangerous because X Y Z." Because
Yeah.
I'm not this guy. I'm not this guy. I say it's dangerous because, and I'll pick something. I'm like, this is why, or this is why, and bring you to it. So you see and I see, not me talking. And then I think because of the way I said it, and I was okay by saying no, that they invited me back out. They said, "Hey, can you come out to New Mexico for 7 weeks?"
Wow.
First, they said, "What do you know about avalanches and snow?" And I said, "Well, I grew up in the ocean and in the mountains. I would snowboard and surf during the winter. So what do you need to know?" And he said, "Well, we have 7 weeks in the mountains doing these helicopter scenes and all this stuff. Just put it on the back burner." And then when I finished Columbia, I was home. I was barbecuing, actually, and then I get a phone call. "Hey, this is the production in New Mexico. We won't. The director won't start the production till you're here." I said,
Wow.
"Oh, yeah." I said, "Okay. When do you need me?" It's like, "You're on the first flight out tomorrow morning."
Amazing. But what great acknowledgement is that? I mean, that's
Yeah, yeah.
amazing. Yeah.
It was. He wrote me a letter to the major studios to hire me on like permanently. Yeah, it was really
Amazing.
cool.
Kevin, but it just shows you, that you know what you're doing, and that shows, it with the safety aspects and everything.
There's still doubt because you still have that like that voice in the back. Like, am I doing the right call? Because my gut will say, "Hey, this is dangerous," but then my head will say, "Yeah, we know it's dangerous, but are you making the right call? Because there's a lot of money on the line. Will this guy not want to work with you?" It's like,
Oh yeah.
yeah, and it shakes your confidence a bit. But at the time, it was just me, and I was like, "I don't care. I don't need to impress you guys. No, no." And then and it was that bad of a situation, and yeah, it was cool. It was very cool.
If Kevin says no, it's no.
Yeah, that's how he was. He was very. That's how the director was. After that meeting, he was like, he says, "No, no, you guys listen to him."
Is your wife the same?
My wife is very. My wife is more this way than I am, because I'm like, I let my kids do dangerous things, and I'm like, "Yeah, it's fine. Yeah, you can skateboard in the house." My wife is like, "No," and I love her for that because she keeps me on the straight and narrow. If not, our house would
You
be caught
see.
on fire.
Yeah. Women, yeah, the wife is always right.
Yeah. Oh, I agree. My mom was the same way. My mom was the one who doled out the punishment.
Really?
Ah!
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Old Catholic Europe, like from Portugal, like they didn't know any better. It was like, yeah, that's how it was.
Oh, but that's so great. But Kevin, tell me about your school, your where you train.
Oh yeah. So I when I was many years into doing stunts, I always wanted to open up a stunt school, especially when I was training under Kim Kahana Sr., who just passed away a couple weeks ago. And I said, I really want to open up something like this. This is a lot of fun, and I enjoy it, and it keeps that energy going. So I opened up one with I always wanted to. Somebody reached out to me and said, "How serious are you opening with the school?" And I said, "Well, I'm super serious." He goes, "Well, I'll back you. I'll be the money guy if you want to open a school." I
Wow.
said, "Yeah, yeah." It was, and so I couldn't say no. I said, "Sure, let's do it." It's all my equipment. He backs the space, and he really helps me with the promotions. And since then, yeah, we've been at it for what 7 months now, and we have a good clientele. I've been on the news 6, 7 times or something like that.
Wow. Mm.
Yeah, I'm doing something for a big client in 2 months, which is the paperwork I'm doing now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah, I have to get everything ready for that. And yeah, so what I do is I train actors how to do stunts safely. Um, I'm very adamant. I'm very adamant, and I'm very straightforward with them.
Why not
I'll tell
have it
them,
here?
you
If you
know,
want to be
don't
up
be
and at
offended
it,
by what I say.
do it
It's
right.
nothing
Last thing
personal.
you want to
But
do is
I'll
start
also
making it
say
look
if this
bad,
is for
then
you
it
or
makes
this
everyone else
isn't
look
for
bad.
you.
Professional
I've had to
stuntman
turn two
Kevin
people
Rego and
away
David
who,
Syracuse are
because
the
it's
owners of
physical, it's very
K75
physically
Stunt.
demanding. You have to be, and you have to have it up here. I had a guy come in, and he just had a heart attack. Couldn't pick him up, couldn't pick himself up, couldn't do any of the physical stuff, and I had to say, "Hey, this isn't for you. If you're looking for a gym, I can recommend tons of gyms and physical therapy. This isn't it. This like
Yeah.
you can't I can't train like this. This is for people to walk on set and a coordinator be like, okay, this guy can do the job. This isn't right." And I was like, this isn't for you. Maybe 2, 3 years from now, maybe, but right now, no. Oh, and like, and it's got to be. How can I say this? Like, it's that perfect example. So I have two actresses who came in, and they had. I know. Also, I find that the stunt women in my school are tougher than the stunt guys.
Really?
Hardcore,
I
completely
love
night
that.
and day.
I love that you said that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and I find that in general, women are harder than men. Like more, they'll take risks, but they also calculate it more. Where the guys are like, I don't know, they get a little wish washy, make excuses, and this is where I go back to like, please don't be offended by what I say and how I say it to you. I yell at all the guys. I'm like, what are you doing? And then I turn around, and the two actors that I was going to speak about, where they came in not knowing anything, and they just absorbed everything.
Who broke my stair? You're paying for that, Missy.
Oh, bro, she's extra. She goes above and beyond when I'm doing a gag. She'll be like, I just need you to fall. She'll fall, do a backflip, and do all these crazy things. I'm like, bro, I just asked you to fall once. Cut.
Now what I do is I literally turn to these two stunt women. I call them stunt women now. I say, hey, set up A, B, C, and D, and this will be the stunts. And they take over. They're tying knots. They're doing everything.
Wow.
And then I'm back at the guys, and I'm like, dude, I just need you to pick up a tire. Are you like, you can't do a push-up? The girl just did like a 4-minute plank, and you're like struggling doing one push-up. This isn't for you. Yeah. So, and I feature those women all the time whenever I do promos. It's usually the same two women over and over and over and over and over
Wow.
again. Yeah.
Well, I heard this is now the third thing that I heard that women are better at. One is fishing. For some reason, women are better at fishing. And the other thing is, I heard actually pilots. They say women make great pilots. Yeah.
Yep.
And now
This-
you're saying women are making good stunt
Yep.
women. Yeah.
Yeah, and back in the day, women were better. And I didn't know this. My wife is she tells me a lot about women history and film. She said that back in the day, women were better painters in the Technicolor than the men because the men are too clumsy, and I totally agree. Our big man hands just can't do finesse, and I think anything that has to do with finesse, I think me personally, 8 out of 10 times, a woman will do it better. And I completely agree. Completely agree. I always defer. You're better than me.
Well, I tell you, the woman's going to love you for this, and the men's going to hate you for this.
Oh, that's fine. I call those guys out all the time. I'm like, bro, man, you gotta take that chip off your shoulder. It's like it's not just they just have this innate ability. I don't know what it is. It's there in nature. I think guys, our egos get in the way of letting those things happen.
I
And even
know.
then, we don't have. It's okay to say, "Hey, I'm not good at that." It's okay, but some guys don't want to hear it. That happened on a stunt where I had an actor didn't want to take notes, and he actually put the rest of the people at danger. And I said, "Dude, do you want me to get like? Do you want her to teach you how to do this? Because you're not listening to me, and I'm the guy who put it all together." Yeah.
Amazing. But so you teach then actors, but do you also get people who are interested in joining the industry? You know, like
Yep.
stunts that want to become a stunt woman or stunt man.
Yep. I get that a lot. Actually, that's I got a few. They'll come in, they'll ask me a bunch of questions. And I'll say the same thing. Like, we're all on the same journey. Like, I may be 25 years in, and you may be a year in, but like in that year, you might end up working a lot more than I will in the next,
Yeah.
because that just happens. It goes back to it's not what you know, it's just who you know and what you look like at the time, and luck. Luck comes into it. But I get people asking me questions like, how do I get in? I'll say it's easier now for you than it was for me back then, because I didn't have internet, or it was hard to
Oh,
get
yeah.
groups going to train. Now we have like Instagram, so we're like, oh, that's how you did this? Cool, let me learn off of that. Back then you had to like find people. You had to go physically find people. Now it's
Yeah.
just
And now also people can show what they can do, and that's probably very impressive as well.
yeah,
You know?
yeah,
Mm.
yeah, and it's oh, I had a coordinator tell me once. Again, this is pretty much before the internet. Or it was when I was just starting out. He told me, whatever you put on your CV, your resume, make sure it's true. Because if not, last thing you want to do is get called out on it. A, at an audition or interview, or B, on set and somebody gets hurt.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and he actually told me this. We were 70 feet in the air tying ropes, and he asked me, "Have you ever stunt rigged before?" I was like, "Jason, I don't know any. I'm 22. I don't know anything." And he goes, "Come on, you're gonna go with me." And we're all the way up in the air across this catwalk, this big across, and I'm looking down at all the people who I was working with, looking like ants. And he's telling me all these questions, and I said, "What am I doing up here?" And he's asking me these questions, telling me all, passing on this knowledge. And that's when he said, whatever you put on your resume, make sure you can back it. And I was like,
Well, that's great advice, and especially in this career that you are in, because I'm sure you don't get many chances when something goes wrong.
I hope to God nothing goes wrong. I hope to God. And if it goes wrong, that everyone can act like a team. If not, let there be at least one other person besides me who can like take charge.
But Kevin, tell me, what are your wishes for the future? What would you like to see with your school and in your career still?
In the future, I'd like more opportunities, of course, for everybody. For me in particular, I'd like more like either super long shows, longer contracts, or come in like to an established long-term company, like either with the Universal Studios or Disney or one of those studios as their in-house guy. I love working a contract, but since I have kids, and it always comes back to the kids, is that stability.
Oh, yeah.
Stability is hard, like especially in this, because we are freelance workers and our bodies can just take so much. There comes a time where I'm gonna have to hang up and go, and then just do something else. So I'm trying to lay down the groundwork now, where I'm doing schooling, I'm doing all those other things, more of the safety work, and then so for me, I love like in the next 5 years, is that like 5 years from now, I'm working at a studio, like I'm their in-house guy, saying the yeses and nos. Maybe I'm still traveling because they'll send me out places because I have dual citizenship and I speak other languages and the experience. And I'd also like for the industry is more open communication, because it does become sort of there's a group mentality that's hard, and it's always like that. You get that tribalism, or we call it cliques and stuff like that, where it's hard. And as a guy or someone from the outside who isn't part of that group, it's hard to get in. And again, it comes down to like, I may know everything and I might fit the role. Now it's you won't give me the job because I don't know you, but you'll give it to someone else and risk injury. And I'm not calling people like saying that happens often, but so I've seen it where somebody will hire someone else because it's their friend and they'll risk injury over someone with experience. I actually saw that. What's that?
Yeah. No, and you've got the experience and you've got the knowledge as well. Like you said, how important the safety is in these aspects.
and it keeps changing. I tell the younger people too in my school. I say, hey, I'll teach you stunts, but if I were you, I'd also start learning everything else that goes on set. Don't just be the actor or just don't be a stunt guy. Learn everything: the rigging, the explosives, the safety. Learn the fires. Learn whatever you can learn. So when you work on set, in case something does happen, you'll know how to react. Yeah, it's some like
That's
I
true.
was. Yeah, go ahead.
No, and especially today, I think it's like you say, to get into the industry, you really have to know what's going on. And I actually spoke to a singer-songwriter today, and we talked about the music industry, and he actually said that he went and worked for a recording company so that he could understand what it's all about, and he went to and worked for different industries in the music industry.
Yep.
So that he could understand what it's all about. And I thought, wow, how amazing that he's a singer-songwriter, but now he knows the whole industry. He knows what it's like to do to record a CD. He knows how to market it. He knows everything about it. And I think in your industry, it's the same thing. You have to know everything.
Yeah, it's totally like that. It's like it's your own schooling because it's hard in the film industry. Yeah, you can go to college for film and television, but does that really prepare you for the job? Not really, because you haven't experienced the raw emotions. You haven't experienced any accidents. You haven't been on a set. You're like working at you'll have the student films, but it's not the same. And then also in school, yeah, they prep you for that one job on the film set. But then you have these other people who are like the union guys or the old guys who've worked at different positions, and they understand power this, rigging that, weather's coming in. We got to work with all this. And yeah, I think that's super important. I think that's how I ended up in my path doing this. It was always stunts at the end, but it was always like this way, then that way, then that way, then sometimes back to go forward. Yeah.
And it takes time, it takes a few years before you get there. So that's also important. But Kevin, this was so great to talk to you. Thank you so much for your time.
No problem.